I am Matt Bradford. You are watching Guitar Tales with Dave Cohen.
What a fun bumper. Thank you, Matt Bradford. He was a wonderful guest, and he's an absolute kick-ass guitar player. So we really appreciate that. Before I introduce our wonderful guest we have for tonight, a shout out to our sponsor, Mischief Studios. They've been a great supporter of the show for quite some time. And we also want to thank, as I do every week, my very close friend, Scott Guitarist Stengel, is doing all the brilliant work behind the scenes and very often in front of the scenes. Actually, our guest Paul doesn't know this, but we actually already filmed a bumper tonight. We had a good time. And a strange thank you for my daughter Hadley. Look at this cool shirt she gave me for tonight. Tipitina's. If you've ever been there, it's an amazing music venue in New Orleans, which I just got back from a few days ago. Most importantly, our guest tonight is Paul Nelson. He is probably as high in the bona fides as we've ever had as a guest. Grammy Award nominated, tours with Johnny Winter, played with Eric Clapton, Buddy Guy, and countless others. We were chatting in our virtual green room before we started, and more important than any of that crap, he seems like a really nice guy. And as far as I'm concerned, that's the most important thing. Paul, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're right between gigs as we speak.
Yes, actually, and thanks for having me. This is great. I love talking guitar.
Oh, and you also clearly love playing it.
Yes. It's kind of my life. It's my chosen profession.
And you're just wonderful. You know, we one of the great things about doing what I do, I get to take a YouTube journey. And I was just watching all your great stuff when I cooked dinner tonight. I was listening to it and just all sorts of varied clips of you playing. We put up a clip of you, the one we were talking about before, and it blew up our site just from one little gig you played. People just loved it.
Thanks. You know, when Johnny passed, I signed with Sony, but there was no real solo video of myself and my band.
Right.
So it's slowly been building, which is a good thing because now I'm up to about 180 shows a year, and people get to see myself play and, you know, doing my versions of songs that other people have done as well, you know, in the blues world or the rock world, as well as my originals and that kind of thing. So it made it to your dinner table, so that's good.
It did. You know, it was so cool because I just pulled you up on YouTube, and, you know, YouTube will go into automatic. It'll keep playing different clips. And I had it playing through a good system with a subwoofer, and the guitar was blasting through.
Yeah, what were you dining on that evening?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. My daughter is with me today, is my proof for my shirt. I made my own version of the Nobu miso cod.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I'm
honored.
Yeah. And I did it at her request, and it came out pretty good. It's not as good as Nobu.
Well, you know, when you tour, you get to try all these foods that the promoters supply, and the restaurants, you know, they all graciously offer you to eat at their place and try this and that.
Right.
So it's that's a whole nother part of it. You see on all social media, people posting pictures of food, or a drummer, I ordered this, or hot wings, or hot sauce, or this, or whatever, ribs. So yeah, we just did a Midwest thing. I played at Buddy Guy's. He always sits in, as a matter of fact, which is very cool.
Well, that's very cool.
But his place, like BB King's,
yeah,
you know, it's their place is built by musicians for musicians.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the great components, as well as the sound and the stage and the people and all this. But yeah, things have been going good. I just got back. I did a whole Midwest tour for about 3 weeks. And like I said, I'm up to about 180 shows a year now. And as we discussed before this, you and I, things have been really picking up for all the musicians about after January. March was kind of the target for everybody's tours.
Right.
And so now I can bring the word back from the States or the streets, as they say.
Yeah.
Everything has been on the uptick. People are supporting music. They're coming out. Shows are a little bit earlier. Doesn't matter what the age is, but in general, venues, theaters, except for festivals, are all starting at a little earlier. It's just because I think people have things to do, places to go afterwards, that kind of thing. Just for the music portion of a venue.
What do you think that is? Because we were having such a good chat, and I was annoyed at myself. We should have just started recording, but we'll recreate the magic now.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to compare life before COVID, and like you said, it was later.
I am so ready for this. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what do you think the difference is that people want to see the music earlier?
Well, I want to say I know what it is, but I think I do, because I've been able to compare opinions of promoters and club owners and theater owners and festival promoters, and they didn't speak to each other. But I'd go to Delaware or Georgia or Florida or Kansas, and they all said same sentence: people have been conditioned or taught to stay home.
Interesting.
That's what it was, and they have to break that. They're just used to it, and it's they're used to getting food delivered to them. They're used to the Netflix. They're used to seeing the concerts online, that kind of thing. I mean, before all that stuff happened, it was support the music, support live music, music first, music this, music that, and then all of a sudden it's like, screw that, stay home.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, wait a minute. What do we do? So there has to be some kind of campaign or push to say, hey, look, I mean, there sort of is. People understand how much musicians struggled, and artists in general, and the aesthetics,
right,
as well as sports and all that. But they have to understand, and I think they are now, especially when they go to the shows, because the best sounding board for the support for artists is the artists themselves saying, thank you for coming out. Thank you for doing it.
Absolutely. And nothing duplicates the energy of just being with people.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
But what about when you're telling people to go be with people that you shouldn't be around?
Yeah.
And now they need to know it's safe to go back in the water.
Yeah. And I love this theory that you're sharing with us, because I think the safety and the warmth and the comfort and the security of home means something different now than it did 4 or 5 years ago. And I wonder if people, they want to go out, they want to be amongst others and enjoy each other, enjoy the live music, enjoy that feeling.
Right.
But then there's that longing, I would guess. There's that longing, all right, I did this, I need to get back to my cocoon, my safety.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something weird. There was a time where artists like myself, these posts go up to say, here, the upcoming show, it's get your tickets now before it sells out. Now, during a time when you're supposed to be separate from people, it wasn't a good thing to say it will be sold out.
No, that's bad marketing, because that makes it a scary sounding event.
Exactly. So you couldn't even tout your popularity or what kind of atmosphere it's going to be. Oh, we're going to be, all your friends are going to be there. It's going to be packed with. No, you couldn't use words like packed and sold out and full.
Wow.
So it took all the promotional end of it out. It's like, well, it's going to be half full, and you'll see a couple people. How do you?
Right.
You can't. So now it's back to that. But sold out was becoming a dirty word or a dangerous word.
Yeah, or a dangerous sounding word. First, it was a dangerous word. Then it became a dangerous sounding word.
Now, like I said, we've been out. I've been out. We've all been out. I'm saying we musicians.
Yeah.
But I've seen Florida, East Coast, Midwest, Canada. All these, it's all improved. Everything was down about 30% in January. That was the number that all the owners and the promoters were saying. We're down about 30%. That's completely changed.
That's wonderful to know. I know I've been going just out all the time, more and more these days, and life is starting to feel much more normal. But I want to go back in time a little bit.
Sure. Yep.
You're reminding me, Scott and this show was a studio show before COVID. And we had, we were in a really nice studio, and then we wanted to keep the spirit of this alive. So we started doing our COVID shows, and then it's more into this.
That's another thing that developed.
Yeah. But here's my question for you. We had this little trend. We were asking musicians for a lot of time, what did you do? And I'll ask you, what did you do during COVID when you really were separate from people, to your craft, to your art? And how did you feel musically and artistically during that time?
Well, the smart ones practiced. Right. They went straight to YouTube. They studied. If they knew a little bit of engineering, they studied more to become their own engineer. If they knew a little bit about producing, they became producers. They started songwriting, and those are all the things I did. I just started recording, producing. I did 6 albums in the past year.
Wow.
One of them featured Bobby Rush. One featured Jerry Portnoy from Muddy Waters, G-Love, guys from Brooks and Dunn, Dwight Yoakam. These are all separate albums. So I went into that mode. I went into practice mode. And, I also had a couple, we all had those shows, those drive-ins that they were trying for a while.
Yeah.
They'd open those up, and then all of a sudden somebody would do something wrong that didn't follow the city or the state's regulations, and they'd shut it down.
Right.
Because some knucklehead stood up with a beer outside of his square, after they said it was okay. We dealt with a lot of that. But, producing, songwriting, arranging, recording, practicing, and writing for others as well as myself. That those that could did, and those that couldn't
didn't.
They're no longer continuing on. So unfortunately, we lost a lot of clubs, but a lot of new clubs are opening. We lost a lot of musicians that couldn't handle, the real musicians kind of stuck with it.
Yeah. It's such a weird thing out of millions of people dying and just how horrible it was. I think it's millions.
It's a huge number, and it's so astronomical. It desensitized the whole planet. To this number, and it's just like, God, how do you feel for one person when you're talking millions?
Yeah, it's crazy. And then the strange thing is when you have so many people, maybe yourself included, grew because you knew where to direct your energies. If I'm one of the fortunate ones who didn't, get hurt, so to speak.
Yep.
And I did all sorts of things, from a creative point of view during that time, and from a professional point of view. And I felt guilty on some level because a lot of people found a way to artistically and creatively flourish in those surreal, strange times.
Well, I didn't go the route of some of those musicians that became hosts, and they tried to think out of the box, and all of a sudden you're seeing these pairing up of musicians they'd never hang out with each other to buy a hamburger, and all of a sudden they're connected in some way because of this, and you knew the minute things got better, goodbye.
Yeah, all gone.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But then some good ones, some funny characters did come out of it. But yes, it was rough. But it really
was.
Yeah. So.
And here we are today.
Yeah, so, which is really, really cool because, like I said, all of a sudden I'm just using myself as an example. The shows just started going through the roof because the venues now they're coming out of that dark time, and they need to put asses in seats.
Right, they do, and they need someone to attract those asses.
Right, and it's either national acts that have a name and have a reputation, or some other kind of thinking out of the box event or whatever. And they're all scurrying. Some places are open 6 nights a week, 5 nights a week, just the weekends, the Sunday things and festivals. And So fortunately and unfortunately, the musicians are the guinea pigs of this reinventing the wheel. But there is one good thing that's come out of this that I've noticed.
Let me hear.
And here it goes.
Yeah.
All right. Musicians and owners and promoters have never worked together more closely than they are right now.
Interesting, and why? What do you think that is?
Because they're desperate to get those asses in the seats. So
Right.
they're more aware of how important social media is. They're more aware of how they have to promote and put up a promotion for their shows just as much as the artists. You know, before
Right.
the clubs used to go, oh, well, the artist didn't promote, and the artist didn't do this, and the artist didn't do that. And now it's like, well, the club didn't do this, the venue didn't post this. So now you're seeing incredible artwork and creativity and use of the right photos and the high res this and the right font and all these cool graphic designers to make things more appealing to people. So there's a continental shift.
Wow.
Of all the people in the business and the musicians working together. It's no longer, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. It's like, how can we do more? Here's our links. Here's where the tickets are. Here's what this, and they're on it with every band. And that's what's changed the most.
It is so strange, all the good that came out of something that was so horrible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you try to find it and you don't want to rehab. It's like, I mean, it just stopped recently in the eyes of the world. And, but it was the most, it was like, I just remember it was like the movie Zombieland. It was insane.
It really was. And I think we were all so happy to get back to our real lives. I think here we are just literally a few years afterwards. And we sort of forget, like this conversation I'm having with you. I don't know when the last time I had a conversation with someone about what those years were like.
No. And the thing is, there was no parade. There was no celebration. Oh, it's done. It's this, that. It's just like, okay.
Yeah, let's sort of start again.
So that's okay. So that's the reason why we're discussing this, is because that's what's happening now. Where it's watering it down. It's weaning it away. And what I'm trying to say is, I've been out in the trenches, and I see it, and I speak with people, and that's the general consensus. And what I'm seeing is, it's picking up in a good way.
That's really, so. Let me get a picture. So I know that.
But there's one more thing.
Go.
There's a lot of trios now.
And is that because? More money per person, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and the travel and the expenses and the whole bit.
Yeah. Well, that's a great segue, because what I was going to ask you, give us a picture. I know you just had a gig. You're going into another gig. I mean, 180 gigs in a year. So where was the last gig before we taped this tonight?
I was in Decatur, Iowa. Before that, I was in Omaha, Nebraska, Bangor, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Chicago. But we all know musicians growing up, even the Berkeley cats. I'm a Berkeley guy.
Yeah.
The first thing a struggling musician does is sell his guitar pedals. Starts hawking the guitars, and then they turn into a trio.
Oh, that is hysterical. That's very funny. And so what kind of venues were you playing in those towns?
Well, Buddy Guy's Legends. I mean, that's the cream of the crop over there. And he always sits in festivals, real authentic blues and rock venues, which I love. Like Steve Ray Vaughan, the El Macambo kind of venues, those real historic ones where so-and-so sat here and so-and-so played here and that kind of thing. So
I remember I think it was 2011, I had just gotten divorced, and all I wanted was to sit in BB King's in Memphis, have a beer, and listen to the house band, and I did it.
Right.
Those kind of venues are just so special.
Well, sometimes that house band was BB King's band.
Yeah, I know. And I didn't
That was his drummer. Was it Tony C?
I don't even know, but just so good. And just to me, there was a piece to sitting, because you're at home when you're in a place like that.
There was a time when BB passed that I was approached by their management and their band to be the guitar player for them to go out on the road and play BB material, which was
wow, that would be interesting.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff flying around. You just take it.
There was such a tight band. So you just played those venues. Now, where are you right now? Are you home? Or are you on the road right now?
Right now, I'm on the East Coast in Connecticut, and then I head up to Worcester, Massachusetts, place called Off the Rails, a big, it could be 1,000-seater, and then and then the Music Room Cape Cod. Then I head up to Rockland, Maine, and then the island of Nantucket for two outdoor shows there, and then down to DC, showing
930 Club. No.
Oh no, not that one, but I do remember that one. Oh yeah.
That's a great place.
It's nuts. It's all styles.
I saw Hot Tuna there.
Wow.
Many years ago.
Yeah, that place. Oh, that's so funny that you mentioned that. Well, I know that place well. Yep.
Yeah, because they had the go-go music down there when I lived in DC many years ago.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I play Madam's organ, which is like packed.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a line around the block. It's insane. So.
Yeah, DC's a cool town. It's a very
cool town. Yep. So yeah, and then it just continues on down to Florida and then Canada and then Midwest, and so right before the pandemic, I was playing. I did the G3 thing in Amsterdam.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
Let's talk about your endorsements.
Okay.
Now we know you're a Fender guy, but I don't know if you're a Fender endorser. Who are you as an endorser of?
All right. Well, it all began. Actually, let's see what my first one was. Ernie Ball Strings. That's when they used to put the names of the artists on the back of the packs.
Right. Yeah,
that was pretty cool. I was a big fan of those strings. Then I moved over to a DR, which was great bunch of people. Did a lot of clinics, NAMM show. Then guitars, Gibson, Fender. Both. Really? Pickups, DiMarzio and Seymour Duncan.
Look at that. It's like Hatfield and McCoy all at the same time.
Well, because I perform, but I also produce. So when you're producing, it's like I need a sound, and it has to be that style of humbucker. It has to be that style of Strat. I record. I worked with Bob Ezrin.
Yep.
And Terry Date. And I watched them like a hawk, and I learned their doubling techniques and the use of recording one guitar part and then doubling it, but not with the same guitar.
Right.
So when you have, most people will double a guitar and play the same guitar and play the same part and then split it like quarter of, quarter after.
Okay.
Yeah. So what you do is you take a Les Paul.
Right.
And then you double it with a Strat.
Oh, that's cool.
You see? So, I mean, what's the use if it's not, the key is to make it thicker, right?
Yep. And those are very distinct sounds. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not out of phase, but it's two people. It's like an orchestra.
Yeah.
And you would double an acoustic guitar maybe with a little bit of a 12-string or a high-strung guitar where you take the 12-string guitar and cut off the lower 3 strings. That's a Nashville technique. So again, that's why the need for different products. I was with Delaney Guitars, great guitar company. They made me a Les Paul Junior looking guitar with the volume knobs and the tone knobs up to 11.
Which by the way, I have to jump in. Scott, type it for us. The name of the band you were in, was it Go to 11?
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, Scott was in a band called Go to 11.
Oh, well, there you go. That's a Spinal Tap. Yeah.
A great Spinal Tap reference.
Yeah, these go to 11. I love that line.
Yeah.
So, then I now with Rios Guitars, which is a great company. They made my signature Rios guitar, Fender Stratocaster-ish looking.
Okay.
But it's got some hidden things that you can only get through that company. The sound is great. It plays. It's got that glassy tone, and I tuned down a whole step.
Really?
Yeah. So that makes a Gibson sound Gibsonier, and a Stratocaster-like guitar sounds strattier.
And what's the name of that company that makes it?
Rios, R-I-O-S guitar company.
Very cool.
Yeah, they make basses as well. They made one for I think it's David Pistorius, Jocko's relative.
Very cool.
Who's a quadra. Yeah, a bunch of people. And then amplifiers, I've had I have Quilter, just everything. And then a big one.
Okay.
A real strange one is a company called ENKI, Enki.
Okay.
Now I saw them at a NAMM show, and I went up and I always need flight cases, something that holds up. And I had used the ones made in England, the metal ones.
Right.
I mean, they're great and all, but I got to replace them a lot. So I really need something that was more durable for a long period of time, and was lightweight and was easy to bring around. I got a bunch of guitars. So this company actually started off as a crossbow company, and they realized they could put guitars in this case upright, and they could fit 2 guitars or 2 basses. So it's Enki is the case company, and I think they won the most innovative product at that year's NAMMs. It was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, before the pandemic or whatever.
That's pretty cool. And let me ask you this. We were talking on the show tonight, and Scott and I were remarking outside of your presence about that amazing video. Is that one of your Rios guitars?
No, that's right before I got that. Right before I got that deal.
Oh, okay.
But you'll see me using it a lot now. It's got a roasted maple neck, so it's a little darker.
Right.
Still got the rosewood fretboard, but all the tone controls and everything are black with a white pickguard, and it's got Area 51 pickups in it.
Very
so
cool.
It's cool. Yeah, I like using a double stacked or a thicker pickup in the bridge position.
Okay.
I really lean heavy on that. I rarely switch to the other pickups. They kind of just cover the holes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, what about the Strat that you play in that video? Scott's commenting that it looked kind of tricked out.
It's got a Seymour Duncan in it, a little beefy. It's got rails in it, but again, I don't use them. So tricked out. The only thing that has, it's got a metal nut. So
okay.
It's the Jeff Beck model.
Okay.
So it has a little more sustain to it. And if you notice, all of Beck's guitars towards the later years, they all had the metal nut, which I'm probably going to put in this one because it does add more sustain.
Because do you get any tinniness or any?
No. I take that. I use so now the pedal board.
Okay.
In my tube screamer, I always set, and I got this. I got a tip from. I took lessons from Steve Kahn.
Okay.
Fusion. I was heavy into fusion.
I read that.
And I took lessons from Mike Stern and Steve Vai, actually.
I saw that too. Yeah.
Kahn, he had the tube screamer, the what was it, the 10s, with the plastic thing.
Okay.
He didn't have the 808s. I have the real original 808, but I looked at his tone, and it was set to like no high end, totally to the left, real dark, and I liked that. It was kind of like a presence knob or whatever. Presence is always a pain in the neck for me. I never know. Well, I go by ear.
Okay.
But if you start adding too much, you get that tinniness. If you start knocking it off. So most of my settings on my amps are, and I run in stereo, by the way.
Oh, really?
So I always have 2 sets of something. They don't have to be matched. I can have 2 410s. I can have 2 twins. I could have 1 quilter. I could have a 12. I can have a 12 on one side. And it doesn't matter because they're offset. But my settings usually end up being 775, which is treble 7, middle 7, and bass no more than 5. Because then if you hit those low notes when you're tuned down to D,
okay,
you'll just rip rip the cones.
Yeah, and plus you said you tune all your guitars a step down to begin with.
Yeah, so that low note is like,
yeah.
So on the pedals, to avoid that brightness, and I always use plexiglass, always.
Okay.
And that's not, I have to say this now, that's not something players should fear. It's welcome by sound people who really take you more seriously, because they know that you're
what you're doing.
You're conscious, yeah, and you come across as being very polite. So, but that takes some of the high end out as well.
Okay, because it's less bleeding, right?
Yeah, and you got to figure, if you're on a giant stage, 20 feet cable or whatever, that stuff's going right under your legs, and you really don't have an idea of how loud it's being.
Right.
You get it out of the monitors, but they start messing around with the monitors. That's another thing. I'm not a big fan of monitors for monitoring my guitar. I like my sound to be like a PA system behind me.
Yeah, because then you're hearing what they're hearing.
Right. So that's the stereo setup, and I set the amps about a guitar body apart.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people that run in stereo. I love it.
That's very cool. And now I have a weird segue for you.
Okay.
So one of the things we want to talk about is your appearance on Letterman, and I think you were also on Jimmy Fallon's show.
And I had two amps then. I had two.
That's what I was going to ask. What kind of setup for a show like that?
Super reverbs with a ton of plexi. Even the drummer had plexi.
Really?
Well, what was really cool, people didn't see, was that before Johnny and the rest of the band came out.
Okay.
Paul Schaefer, and I knew a couple of other guys in the band because I had worked with a few of the players.
Okay.
So they're like, "Hey, you got to figure in the audience, there's 1,200 people there already."
That's true. It's not a little studio, right?
Yeah. No. I mean, yeah, 800, 900. It's around there.
Yeah.
No. So you play during the commercials.
Right.
So I'm standing there, and Bones Malone, he goes, "Hey, let's jam with Paul." So we start playing, and you'll see Letterman, if you see that clip, he'll say, "Now, Paul, that was the blues, Paul Schaefer. Now that's playing the blues." Before Johnny came up, we were jamming like crazy. It was really cool. And then Johnny came out and just tore it up. He was in the best shape. It was really cool. And Letterman couldn't have been more gracious, and it was funny as hell. And the whole horn section kicked in.
Well, and he had such a kick-ass band. I mean, that was one of the hallmarks of that show. Everyone loved that band.
Oh, well, yeah, Will Lee and Sid and Anton, and and the horn section, Al Chez, Bones Malone. I mean, Bones Malone was from the Blues Brothers.
Wow. So going all the way back to that.
And I think Al Chez was Robert Cray, maybe.
Okay.
Yep.
That's amazing stuff.
But I knew all those guys from doing a lot of work with bands that they were in, as well as Conan O'Brien guys like La Bamba and Pender. Yeah. But that was a big moment. That was something else.
What were your feelings during that? I mean, it's funny. The stage in person isn't that big, but otherwise it's as big.
It is, and it is cold. Everybody always said how cold it was, and it is the Ed Sullivan Theater, and it's like, holy crap.
Right.
I wasn't part of that Beatles generation. Everybody watching stuff in black and white or whatever, but I knew the history in there, and I was like,
it's iconic.
This is pretty big. So I did ask permission. Can I sit behind the desk?
Oh, wow.
And I said, there's a picture of me sitting behind Letterman's desk and holding the notes of the show.
Wow.
Throwing a pencil through the window kind of thing.
Right. Now, did you get pre-interviewed for that, or how did that go?
Nope. You just show up, you rehearse a little bit, and it's taped, but it's live. In other words,
live on tape.
They don't. You make a mistake, it's on.
Right.
And they told us that a band the night before came on, and the bass player did a split and ripped his pants, and they kept it. So
that's great.
I was like, wow, thanks for letting me know that. I really feel confident now.
Yeah, and I think I read, did you do Jimmy Fallon or did you another late night show?
Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah,
the other
Johnny
Jimmy.
and I were in the Persuaders, that band with the father and the son, his band, and
Right.
the guest that night. It was South by Southwest. We were doing for the documentary Down and Dirty. We were viewing it in Texas.
Right.
And they invited us on the show and asked Johnny and I to play in the band. And Lady Gaga was one of the guests.
Wow. Right.
And at the end of the show, you could see Lady Gaga just looking over at the bandstand.
Right.
And no matter how big they were, she comes over and she goes, "Would it be okay if I got a picture with Mr. Johnny Winter?"
Wow.
And I was like, wow. Because she was a club date rock singer in Long Island.
Yeah, I mean, she's got real street cred in that world,
yeah.
I think, right?
So she was probably singing, Johnny Winter stuff.
Yeah.
Back in when she was, doing the rock thing.
Right.
So, yeah, but it was amazing the respect that he commanded. Well, it wasn't amazing. It was well worth it.
And I would be doing this show a horrible disservice if I didn't ask you, how did you originally hook up with Johnny? Let's get the backstory there.
We met in a studio in Connecticut called the Carriage House, and Dick Sherman was producing Johnny for the I'm a Blues Man record, soon to become I'm a Blues Man record. I actually wrote the song, and he named the album after the song I wrote called I'm a Blues Man. It was supposed to be a duet with he and B.B. King, but B.B. King was going through some stuff. And couldn't do it, so I had to turn it into a single. So they were missing 3 songs. So they asked me if I had any material, because I had gone there. I knew the people who worked at the Carriage House.
Okay.
And I so we hit it off. And like I said, they asked if I had any material, and I did. So I submitted it, and they liked it. And then to the point where Johnny said, "Hey, there's some other guitar parts in there. Can you play the other parts?" And I go, "Sure." And so then we recorded, and he says, "Well, since you're on the album, how'd you like to come and tour?"
Just like that.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I was recording for the football league, the XFL. I was in the studio there at the same time. So, yep.
So it's just that little coincidence.
That's how it happens.
Wow. And we have so many other stories like that we've had on Guitar Tales. These sort of chance meetings, the 2 ships that cross in the night, but then they don't. They stop.
I mean, yeah. You kind of have to be in the right place all the time. Yeah. And you have to be ready. I mean, it's one thing to get the gig. It's another to keep the gig.
That's true. Yeah. And we had Phil X on, I guess about a month or 2 ago, and he almost turned down the opportunity to tour with Bon Jovi, because he was originally going to be just an understudy in case Richie wasn't available.
Right.
And to learn an entire catalog to maybe get to play someday.
Yep.
And he turned on his TV on cable, and right as he was about to give up, and what came on but a documentary about John Bon Jovi, and he took that as a sign.
There you go.
So he learned the catalog, and then he gets the phone call, and his whole life changed.
Exactly.
And here you are for XFL.
Yep. And then all of a sudden, I'm meeting all the people in his entourage, and it's like, the best thing was when I finally sat down with Johnny to work on a song that I had written, and there I am face to face with,
oh my God,
with Johnny, and I'm like, you know what? I time freezes, and it's like I look up, and there he is staring me in the face, and we're both playing, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm ready for this.
That's Scott and I were talking about this today. Literally, I was driving back from somewhere, and we were both agreeing that for a musician who gigs like you gig and have gigged, who's out as much, even though you would expect that one in your position would have the jitters, you've been doing it so much and for so long, you're just ready, right?
Right. And I think that's sense, like, when they said that expression, the sensing blood, I think that ease and that camaraderie comes out immediately.
Right. Because
And
Yeah.
even the owner of the studio afterwards,
Yeah.
because Johnny was in really bad shape then.
Okay.
He said, Paul, I don't believe in all this ESP stuff or weird like Twilight Zone stuff. But he goes, in seeing you communicate with Johnny, I don't know what it is, but for some reason, you're going to help him and he's going to help you. There's a reason why you two together. And I was like, what? And then later on, I realized he was right.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
He saw how we communicated and how I respected him, but was still forceful and made sure that he got things done and in the recording. And I said, let's try this again. Nobody was telling him to try something again, to do this. It just didn't, it just came out of me. It's like, hey, this is a major recording. What's going on? And then
Right. So you're not falling victim to the emperor's new clothes.
Oh God, that's the expression I used all the time. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
because the emperor wants to know if he's naked or if he needs to straighten his tie a little bit.
Exactly. And I was like, what the hell? Let's get this going, and then so there was a lot, it's the tip of the iceberg, but yes. So anyway.
So let me
that led to a trust, and then we went on a trust in each other, musical trust, a camaraderie, a friendship, and then he had me produce. Actually, I'm a Blues Man came out that got nominated for a Grammy. I wrote the title track, and then he had me produce Roots, which is a great album.
Wait! We can't just breeze by you. I mean, we knew this already. Grammy Award nominated. Let's pause for a minute there. So you have this moment where you're sitting there with Johnny, like like a hero. He's a hero to everyone who's ever even looked at a guitar.
Yes.
And now, a short time later, thanks to the XFL, right, indirectly, what was that like to get that nomination for a Grammy?
Well, that was a performance nomination, but that album, I think it had 2 or 3 songs that I had written. I remember I forget, it was on the Thruway or something like that. And we got the call and it was like, guess what? It got nominated. Didn't win, but it got nominated. I was like, wow, that's
good enough. That's more than good enough.
And then he asked me later on to produce Roots, which was the show that we went on Letterman for.
Right.
And that album. And that had Warren Haynes and Sonny Landreth. And I got Johnny that record deal. And then Step Back. That was the biggie. That's the one that got he and I the actual Grammy, the win.
Wow.
And then after Johnny passed, I worked with Joe Louis Walker, and I got another Grammy nomination for producing and performing on Joe Louis Walker's album.
You're still going strong, but let's pause for a minute. What a career. I mean,
just that. It's like
holy crap.
But you just kind of do it, and the stuff stacks up, and then you do an interview, and then you're reminded of the stuff, and it's like, Jesus, really? Wow.
Are we really talking about me? Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, well, I gotta head to Kansas City, but great.
Yeah. I mean, you've got 2 nominations and you've won a Grammy.
And a KBA, a Blues Music Award, all the.
Oh, I studied you. We've got your Wikipedia is 5 pages long in small font over here. I mean,
I know.
We knew of these accomplishments even before you were kind enough to come on our show. Yeah. But that's just so amazing.
It's it just, and it wasn't a long period of time. People think I was with Johnny and I was at Woodstock. No. I joined Johnny in like 2001.
Okay.
So it's like Johnny was 20 years younger than Muddy Waters when he played with Muddy. He was like a little kid, so I was kind of like a little kid going in there.
You're kind of like Muddy's grandson.
Yeah, right.
I'm only being a little silly with that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they say that I helped Johnny the way that Johnny helped Muddy, and that's a huge.
What a compliment! That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Scott's in the back room clapping, but it's quite sincerely.
Yeah. But these artists that I played with, that I read in about magazines and studied and meeting them or being on recordings or playing with them live on stage, and still now I'll meet a traditional blues artist or someone, and I'll be just, oh my God, that's this one or so and so, and he played this. That. It's like, to me, it's like collecting baseball cards of your life, you know.
But you know what? You're one of them now. You've been one of them.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
You no, not I don't like that that hesitancy. You won a Grammy. I mean,
I know. It is the height of yep.
There's nothing higher.
I know there is not that field. I mean, it's not like winning an Olympic. Well, it is pretty big.
It is. There's nothing bigger. So
thanks for reminding me. I appreciate it.
It's cool. And it's funny because we opened the show by saying a nice guy. And it's a nice guy who's hesitant to accept the fact that he is literally at the pinnacle of guitar, and you are.
Well, I'll tell you something that was told to me, and this isn't an egotistical thing, and I hate saying this, but I'm on the tour bus, and I'm in the bathroom, and I'm on. I had one cell phone on one ear, and then another cell phone on the other ear, and I was doing some business. You know, talking to a record company or whatever, and there's a knock on the bathroom door while the tour bus is moving, and I said, "What? Can't you see I'm busy?" And they said, "Oh, it's the head of the Blues Foundation." I go, "Okay," and so they handed me the third phone.
Wow!
So I get on the phone. I go, "Hey, how you doing? What's going on?" And whoever was running at the time, Jay, I do know who it was. Yeah, Jay.
Yeah.
And he says, I just want to let you know ahead of time that you have won the KBA award from the Blues Foundation, which is keeping the blues alive.
Wow.
And I go, for what? I go, what did I do? He goes, I got to tell you, Paul. He goes, it's the ones that don't know why they're getting it that are most deserving. And I said, they go, I go, I'm on the phone with three other people. He goes, that's why you're getting it.
Yeah. And it's funny because as you're starting to, in sort of in real time back then, explain why you don't get it. Scott and I'm looking at Scott. We get it.
Yeah.
You know, we were getting it. It's a lifetime of amazing musicianship.
But trust me, you're not in the studio trying to get one or recording. You're thinking about the project of servicing the song, making the artist happy, arranging all the stuff. I mean, if people don't know what a producer does in the studio, they're not ready for a producer.
Right. You know, I just I was on a long driving trip recently, and I listened to all but the last. I just haven't gotten to it yet, of Bruce Springsteen's autobiography read by him. And he spent so much time talking about servicing the song, like you just said. And you know, and I think it was Greetings. They were disappointed because it wasn't guitar heavy, and he said, "I'm servicing the song."
Yep, you have to sacrifice. I mean, you can hear in somebody's playing, you know, these little bursts in a solo, you know, a little string of 16ths or 30 seconds that the person can do it. Those people get more respected than the people that actually just go over the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
So there has to be some sort of melody or something that's. They have to be songs within themselves, and even the fills. I mean, everything is so important. But there
has to be a reason for what you're about to do.
Exactly.
In service of the song.
Yeah, and there's guys that can do it in one take.
Yeah,
like a Lukather, or like a Carlton, and then there's guys that have to piece together solos. I mean, there's people that double their solos. You know, like Randy Rhoads and. I think even Steve Morris was triple tracking his solos.
Really?
That means he knew them identically over and over and over again. So whether it was double or triple, but it just gives it a thicker sound.
Yeah.
That's a style that was done. But I love the streaming total improv and going, okay, like Johnny has, like Clapton has, like Buddy has, where it's just like one take. See you later.
That's the blues.
That's blues. That's rock. That's fusion. It's insane. So that's what I strive to do.
Wow, that's amazing. So I got to tell you, you know, as is always the case on our show, feels like we've been chatting 5 minutes. We're an hour in.
Ah, we'll have to do part two.
Part yeah. But this Scott and I, because we've been talking ever since you were kind enough to book a show with us. We are so appreciative to have had you on the show. We really are.
Thank you.
And it's partly your unbelievable accomplishments, and it's your damn schedule. Like we appreciate it too, because you're working your ass off out there.
I love it. It's what we do, and my band members love it too. I've always worked with people that just can't get enough of it.
That's a great thing.
And it kind of, we get a lot of comments from people at the shows afterwards saying, it was like we were invited to a private party. You guys are just having so much fun up there that it's contagious. And I'm not the only band out there, not the only musician or whatever, but yeah. Okay. If they're getting that from that, cause I'm looking at the drummer and the bass player's looking at me, and I'm playing some kind of riff that I'm working on from the last show. And it's like, oh, you got that. You put this in, they see stuff develop. It's a lot of experimentation. Like you said earlier, there's nothing like live. No, because it happens then and it's over.
Right. It's a moment. It's a moment.
You listen to something on Spotify, it's the same over and over and over.
Yeah.
So these live performances are they're just templates for improvisation and the real life just happening at a show, and a different song order and a mistake or something that you never thought you could play before, or an audience member screaming out or something, a different environment or a different, So I love that spontaneity. Plus you get to see the world.
Yeah, that's true too. And as you said earlier, you get food from all over the world, whether it's good or not.
Yep. You got to watch that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I thank you so much.
Thank you.
What a great time. And I want to thank all of our friends here on Guitar Tales for tuning in whenever we are on, either on our Thursday night shows, or you can grab a show anytime you want on Guitar Tales. If you say, hey, Siri, play Guitar Tales with Dave Cohen, we will play for you. Audible, Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube.
Yeah, I got all that stuff too. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a necessary tool for everybody.
Yeah. And then we've been really scrolling all of the great ways to find you throughout the show. Yeah. But in your mind, as we close up, what's the best way for people to find your stuff?
PaulNelsonGuitar.com, and just Google my name and I'll come up.
Yeah, we know that well, because Scott and I have had a lot of fun looking you up on all social media. Well, thank you again. This is Dave Cohen signing off at Guitar Tales. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you
very much. Very cool. I'll see you guys on the road.
I'm number two. No, I was the second. That's right. I was the second one. The second on Guitar Tales, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching it right now. I'm Big Daddy Ed with the Amish Outlaws. I gotta go back to work. Here we go. Guitar Tales, watch it!